Welcome to Gengo's N3 Japanese Grammar Series. In this episode, we're going to be going through 4 pieces of Japanese grammar: ba-i, ba-yokatta, ba-HODO, and ba-NONI. For each grammar point, you will have a breakdown of how the grammar is used, as well as have multiple different game examples in order to give you the strongest feel for how the grammar is actually used in context. This video is brought to you by all of the wonderful supporters on Patreon, so if you like this kind of video, consider joining us on Patreon and the Game Gengo Discord community. So, without further ado, let's get into some grammar.
生徒ウェンデルに行きたいんですけど、滝の洞窟に入れないんです。どうすればいいかご存知ですか?
Ba-i. This piece of grammar is used to express a suggestion or advice that an action would be best to take place. It's often seen as meaning should, but more literally seen as perhaps would be good if. This grammar point is constructed with 2 pieces of language. The first is the hypothetical ba form for verbs, which functions like an if, and then it's followed by e, which means good. So if you put them both together, it would be good if. So taking a look at this first example from Trials of Mana, here we have one of the main characters saying, どうすればいいかご存知ですか? Which could be translated as, do you know what I should do? どうする is literally how do something, and then ba-i as should or would be good if. So if we put it all together, it's kind of like a what would be good or what would be best for me to do, as in what should I do? Here asking the question, do you know what it is I should do? どうすればいいかご存知ですか? So let's take a look at some further examples to get a stronger feel for how this grammar point is used.
間に合うか。ボタンを押せばいいのか。
女神の任を降りればただの女に戻れるのか。
命は伸びる。
俺はどうすればいい？フリアイを助けたいんだ。
おお。カードキーをいちいちかざしていた時代が懐かしい。
あれから9年、過去の技術も現在の技術で再解釈すればいいんだ。
So we can see in each of these examples, do you know what I should do?
どうすればいいかご存知ですか?
Should I push the button?
ボタンを押せばいいのか。
What should I do?
俺はどうすればいい?
And even we should just reinterpret the old technologies with the new.
過去の技術も現在の技術で再解釈すればいいんだ。
We can see that in each of these examples of usage, it's referring to a need to do a certain action. Whether used as a question to ask what action you need to do, or even in a statement as claiming what it is that needs to be done. Ba-i is used to say should.
さっきだってティルザの感謝を素直に受け取ればよかったじゃないか。
Ba-yokatta. Next we have ba-yokatta. This is an evolution of the previous grammar point ba-i, where the only difference in language points is the e for good, here being put in its past tense form, yokatta. Was good. This piece of grammar is used to express regret for a certain action, this time talking about an action of the past, saying that it would have been good if a certain action had taken place. So like here in Tales of Arise, the main character Alphen is asking the other main character Shione if it would have been good if she accepted Tiruza's gratitude earlier. So here asking, shouldn't you have accepted it? Or literally, wouldn't it have been good if you accepted? Uketoreba yokatta. It would have been good if you accepted. Let's take a look at some other examples to see how this grammar point is used more clearly.
エリスってまさかソレアナ公国のお姫様？誰かが助けに来るのを待てばよかったのに。
ヒックスの言う通り、あのまま逃げればよかったと。
そもそも初めからジャクソンに近づかなきゃよかったんだ。
So in all of these examples, shouldn't you have accepted?
受け取ればよかったじゃないか。
You should have waited.
待てばよかったのに。
I should have ran away.
逃げればよかったと。
And even you should have stayed away.
近づかなきゃよかったんだ。
We can see quite clearly that this use of ba yokatta is used to show that a past action would have been best to have happened, however it didn't. It would have been better if you accepted the gratitude. It would have been better if you had waited. It would have been better if I ran, or it would have been better if you stayed away. So just remember that this is used to simply express that something should have happened that didn't. 光に近づけば近づくほど君自身の影は大きくなる。Ba HODO. This next piece of grammar using ba is very different from the previous two examples. This time, ba HODO is a combination of the ba verb form for if you do that verb with HODO to show the extent or amount of doing something. Now this is a fun little expression to say that if you do a certain action, then depending on the amount you do that action, the following result will occur. It sounds complicated in the grammar books, but this is actually quite straightforward once you get used to it. Take for example here from the opening of Kingdom Hearts. The closer you get to the light, 光に近づけば近づくほど the bigger your shadow becomes. 君自身の影は大きくなる. Now, if we took this literally, it would be as you approach the light, 光に近づけば the amount that you approach, 近づくほど your shadow will become larger. 君自身の影は大きくなる. Let's check out some further examples and see if you can see a clear pattern as to how this grammar point is used.
俺は今ものすごくワクワクしてるんだ。知り尽くしたと思っていてもまだまだ知らないことばかり。進めば進むほど格闘ってやつは恐ろしい。そして面白い。
あなたが私を強く愛してくれればくれるほど、あなたが愛しているのはマニュアルに従った私。
つまり俺の方も疑似恋愛だったってことか。ゲームだったんだ。
空には真実を知らせておいた。ハートレスを倒せば倒すほど我々に利用されると気がついている。
So we can see in all of these examples, the more you do a certain action, depending on the extent that you do that action, the following result takes place. As in, the more you come close, the bigger your shadow becomes. 光に近づけば近づくほど君自身の影は大きくなる. The more you progress in your studies of martial arts, the more fearful it becomes.
進めば進むほど格闘ってやつは恐ろしい。
The more Raiden loves Rose, the more he's loving the Rose that is just following instructions.
あなたが私を強く愛してくれればくれるほど、あなたが愛しているのはマニュアルに従った私。
And finally, the more Sora defeats Heartless, the more he realizes that he is being used.
ハートレスを倒せば倒すほど我々に利用されると気がついている。
All of these cases show quite clearly that ba HODO is used to express that the more you do something, the following result will occur with an amount linked to how much that action is done.
本当に静か。これから先もずっとこんな日が続けばいいのに。
The final grammar point for the N3 using the ba verb form here is ba NONI, and it's used to express a slight annoyance or regret that a certain action or situation should take place, suggesting that it hasn't or that it won't. For this reason, it comes across as a little bit less polite compared to the more neutral ba YOKATTA, which simply states that something should have been done. Instead, this expression feels a little bit like you're complaining that something should take place, or it should be done. Like seen here in Xenoblade Chronicles, saying, I wish days like this would last forever. Here it implies that peaceful days like right now won't last forever, and she's expressing some level of annoyance or regret that it won't continue. So literally, こんな日が続けば, if days like this were to continue, it would be good, NONI, kind of like a despite. So saying, it would be good if days like this continued forever. But the NONI here is showing a level of kind of complaint that it won't be the case. So let's take a look at some more examples to see this grammar point in action.
俺に力があれば
振り合いを守れるのに。
誰だ。
寝癖の召喚士なんてみんながっかりだぞ。
起こしてくれればいいのに。
ざまあないぜ。お前を倒せば魔人から真の像ってやつがもらえるはずだったのによ。
心臓がないのか。
So we can see in all of these situations, the characters are expressing regret with a certain degree of annoyance or complaint about a certain action. Like slight annoyance that days like this should last forever, however they won't.
こんな日が続けばいいのに。
Or annoyance that if one just had power, they'd be able to protect the ones they care about.
俺に力があれば振り合いを守れるのに。
A slight annoyance that people should have woken you up.
起こしてくれればいいのに。
And even expressing regret that if only an action had taken place, like defeating your enemy, then you would have been able to receive something from someone. Like here, receiving a heart from a demon god.
お前を倒せば魔人から真の像ってやつがもらえるはずだったのによ。
All of these cases, we can see a certain level of regret or annoyance about an action, which is indicated by the ba verb form, and then the following clause between ba and NONI showing what would happen if only the first clause took place. If only I had power, I would be able to protect Furia. If only you had woken me up, it would have been alright. If only days like this continued, it would be good. And if only I defeated you, I would have been able to receive a heart. And that is it for the next 4 pieces of the N3 Japanese grammar. So this was a very interesting episode with a lot of uses of ba being used in different grammatical situations. So hopefully these examples helped give you a stronger feel for how the grammar is used. If you like this kind of video, please consider supporting us on Patreon and joining the Game Gengo Discord community. As always, thank you very much for watching, liking, subscribing, and all of your lovely comments. Reading them is so much fun. So thank you very much everyone for all of your contributions to the community and the channel. I hope you continue to enjoy learning Japanese with Game Gengo, and as always, I'll see you again next time.